There you go.
All right. Well, welcome in everybody. If you want to drop in where you're from in the Q&A, feel free. I'd always love to see that. I am from the I'm sorry, I'm just getting my Q&As up so I can see everything that you guys might say. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, so our football team is playing right now. But I'd rather craft than watch football. Now, today's workshop is making some Halloween costumes using HTV. HTV is heat transfer vinyl. And you need the difference between heat transfer vinyl and regular vinyl is that you use heat to apply the vinyl. You can use heat transfer vinyl in a variety of bases, blanks. You can use heat transfer vinyl on woods, on fabric, lots of different surfaces. I'm trying to think of all of them off the top of my head. The great part about heat transfer vinyl is you can change the temperature on your press for the different types of vinyl and the different mediums that you're going to be pressing onto. So today's workshop is about making some Halloween costumes using heat transfer vinyl. And so I have some of the Gildan t-shirts from Michaels, and I'll be using my Easy Press. You can use a home iron to heat with heat transfer vinyl. So if you don't have an Easy Press, for most of these projects, you'll be fine. I do have one project to share with you that I use infusible ink with, because I get a lot of questions about how to use infusible ink from Cricut. So I thought I would add that into our repertoire for the day. Now, most of my costumes, I did use the inspiration of the Care Bears, because a lot of times you're looking for group costumes. So I used that as my inspiration to show you a variety of techniques to make different costumes. Now, no matter which cutting device you have, you can cut similar projects on those different devices. If you are a Cricut user, you can grab these projects in my profile, but you can always recreate these projects no matter which cutter you use and no matter which type of heat source you use. So if you want to use your home iron, by all means, you've got that. If you have a different press system, you've got that. And it looks like we've got people from the East Coast and the West Coast joining us. We've got Debbie from Philadelphia and Harriet from Los Angeles. So I think you guys are going to like these costumes. Now, the first project I'm going to work with is that one we had in the class picture, like to click on. And that is making a skeleton costume. And I thought this one would be a great one to start with, because it's a little bit bigger than your average t-shirt size, and you have to kind of piece things a little bit together on the sleeves. So I want to show you how to do that. And then we're going to make some other projects, and I've got a variety of sizes in the shirts, from toddler size all the way up to an adult medium size. And the reason I did that is so that you could see how to do your sizing, because your design for a toddler shirt is going to definitely be a different size than for an adult shirt. So I thought we would do some of those different projects there. Now, feel free. I do have my laptop right here next to me. So as I'm going along, if you have questions, please do feel free to pop those in there. And if I don't see them in time, Chanel can definitely read those out to me. We do have a great group today, so we want to get all those questions answered and get all the projects done. So I'm going to share my screen first and show you in Design Space how to find these projects. So Design Space is the free software from Cricut, and then you can use Cricut Access to find the images you want to work with. This is let me go back to the home screen. If you're interested in finding me, let me go, let's see. Uh-oh, it's being slow. Okay, let's go back into, there we go. Now this is the home screen for Cricut Access. And if you were to type in my name, Kesley Anderson, you would find some of the projects I've shared previously and my community member name. So you can just click on my community member, and within my library of shared projects, the different projects we're working on will appear. And I'm not seeing them here. Let's find those projects. I was using my my desktop, so they may not have popped over yet, gone up and come back down. But this is where you can see a lot of my Halloween projects, and you would be able to see normally the costumes that we're working on today. So that's how you're going to find those. And then with your heat, if you're using the Cricut Easy Press, you can use your laptop, desktop, your phone. There's a mobile device called Cricut Heat, and unfortunately I have my phone as my overhead camera today. Otherwise I could show you that on the phone, but that is great because no matter where you're crafting, you can grab your heat settings that you need for your device. So why don't I go ahead and see if I can pull those up for you. So if you're not familiar with those, you can grab those, use the different heat settings. And it doesn't matter if you're using Cricut materials or if you're using Caesar materials or you're using the Make It materials. The heat settings will pretty much work across the different materials using the different types of materials that are available. So I'm just going to pop this in here and make sure it's up and share my screen with you all so you can see our first heat settings. Oops. Share screen. Here we go. All right. So from here, you can see I'm on the Cricut website, and I always forget exactly what I should bookmark it. But I just do a Google search for Cricut Heat Guide, and it brings me up here. Now, if you are using a home iron, you always want to have it on the highest setting with no moisture. You want to make sure your garment has no moisture in the garment in order to heat that garment up. So you would choose which tool you're using. So I'll be using the Cricut Easy Press. And for my first project, I'll be using the glow in the dark iron-on. And I'll be selecting my base material as a t-shirt. Oops. There we go. So I'm just using 100% cotton as my iron-on, and I'm using a Cricut pressing mat. Now, when I click apply, it will tell me preheat for 5 seconds, set my easy press to 305 degrees, and I press for 30 seconds. Okay, so let me stop showing that and make sure I've got my easy press. It was not turning on for me. Oh, I was turning the wrong button. There we go. Okay, sorry guys. So I've got my easy press here, and I'm going to go ahead and get it started to heat up as I talk you through the project. And let me just go back and make sure I have the right settings. I think it was 305 degrees. So on my easy press, I can just hit the temperature and increase or decrease the temperature. Now I'm actually using the Caesar iron-on material for this project. And the reason I chose the Caesar iron-on material, the Cricut iron-on material, which I have somewhere, had a little bit of a yellow tint to it when I pulled it out. So, oops, that's my white. Here it is. It rolled away from me. The Cricut material had a little bit of a yellowy tint to it. Versus the white of the Caesar material. That's one reason why I went with the Caesar material. Now you can use that type of material on either any machine that you have to work with. You can either use the Caesar material or the Cricut iron-on material, any kind of glow-in-the-dark material that you have there. So I've cut out my design here. I have my arm bones are separate from my shirt bones. So I'm just going to pop those to the side. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to place this on our t-shirt. Well, there's my arm bones. We'll set those over to the side in the boneyard. And this is my torso bones. Now, if you have a hoodie with a pocket, you can just cut that off and put the pelvis on the pocket. And then you can also, since it does, since you put this down a little bit lower than your normal placement, usually I place iron on like 2 to 3 fingers down from my collar, but I kind of want this a little bit lower. So I'm going to do more of like a full hand distance from my collar when I put this on my shirt. To get my shirt ready, all I have to do is remove my tag. Now, one question we get a lot is, do you need to wash your shirt before you do your iron on? And it depends. Sometimes if it's for a family member, I will definitely wash the shirt, or not even definitely. Sometimes I wash it, sometimes I don't. But you could wash it for a family member. If you're gifting this for somebody, or if you're giving it to somebody who's not in your family, I recommend not washing the shirt. The iron material won't melt, shrink down, and if your garment shrinks a little bit, it won't damage your iron-on material. I just always have a kind of like a rule. Like, I think if somebody if in my family, I know my detergent's okay for them, but if I'm gifting it to somebody else, then I don't want to interfere with any allergies or anything like that. So my Easy Press beeped at me and said, okay, I'm ready to do this. Now, my Easy Press is the 9x9 Easy Press, and my skeleton design is much bigger. So I'm going to show you how we're going to press in sections. So first, I like to fold my shirt in half, and I match up the collar, the corner of the collars here, and I'm going to match up my sleeves because we're going to be ironing on the sleeves, so we'll do that second. But I like to get the center of my shirt designated so that I can kind of iron in a crease to the center of my shirt. So I just want to make sure that my collar is in half, my collar lines up, and then my shoulder sleeves line up. Once that's set up, now I'm going to switch to my overhead camera, and I hope that it won't rotate on me. It might, and I may have to switch it around. Okay, so let me switch to that camera. Thank you. All right, it looks like it's stuck with me, so that's good. So you see I have on my space on my Easy Press pad. Now, if you don't have an Easy Press pad, what I do is I just take some beach towels and I fold those up, and I'll press on the beach towels. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a 5-second press down the front of my shirt, because I need to get the whole length of my shirt pressed. We're going to do that easy 5 seconds just to take out any moisture. And the reason you don't want moisture in your shirt is the moisture can prevent the iron-on material from really adhering to your shirt. So it could lead to bubbles down the line or anything like that. So you want to go ahead and give it the press and get any of that moisture out of your shirt. And 5 seconds at each of the spots is pretty good. So now I'm just going to flip it over, and we're going to work it from the other angle. Now you'll notice when I put my shirt down and my press down, I just let it sit there. Sometimes we'll put pressure on it when we put our iron-on material on it, but I don't slide the press down my shirt. And that's because if you slide this like this and get in the habit of doing that, you can eventually like move your vinyl, and then you'll get a shadowing effect. What mat should we use to cut the Caesar vinyl? Celeste, which machine are you using to cut with? Which machine are you using? Now, with my shirt here, I slide over so I'm in the middle. You can see I have a nice middle line here, and I just will I have a collar. Like, I made this in Design Space, so again, this is in my profile, and this helps me line up on my collar and make sure like I've got my spacing from the collar. So if I put my hand here 5 inches down or 5 fingers down, a hand down, and I'll just line that up right there. Okay, so Celeste, I'm really glad you actually asked that question. So Celeste is using a Maker 3. With your Cricut machine, you can do a 12-inch mat. Actually, I think with most of your machines, you can do a 12-inch mat or you could do a 24-inch mat. Since this is not smart material, you have to place it on a mat. So if you were using a 12-inch mat, obviously the design is too big for it to fit on your 12-inch mat. And you just use a standard grid mat, either 12 inches or inches. So I went with the 24-inch mat so I could get the whole cut in one. But if you only had a 12-inch mat, you would just do the chest and then the pelvis. So you see your chest would fit on a 12-inch mat if you needed it to. So I'm glad you asked for that. Okay, so will you save that question? That's a good question from Nazaire. I'll come back to that one. So I just put my placing guide at the top of my shirt, and I'm going to move my shirt so that it's on my mat. So I've got my mat underneath it. And what you need to do is find the center of your design. Now, what I usually do is just fold it right in half, and I'll crease the iron-on material at the center point, not on the vinyl, but on what's called the carrier sheet. So I'll crease that on the carrier sheet. Then I place that along the center fold. And I just want to line that up there. I'll fall down and make sure I've got my centerpiece on the center line as I move my way down the shirt and all the way down to the bottom. So it's on the centerpiece. Now, as I mentioned, if you have a bigger press, you could do this all in one. I don't, so I'm going to have to do it in pieces. Each piece, it said, let me go back and double check. I want to make sure I've got my timing right. Oops. Let's open this up. Okay, let's see. So 305 degrees for 30 seconds with firm pressure. Okay, so 305 degrees, which I've got my machine set at 305 degrees. And I just need to bring it over and do firm pressure. So this image, when you're sizing your image, Shamika, that's a great question. I like to do, for something like this, I wanted to make it wider. So I think my image is, I think I did this like 10.5 inches. Or I did it 11 inches. So the widest you can go with like a Maker 3 or an Explore is 11.5 inches. If you have a bigger machine, you could go bigger and do it in pieces if you needed to. So thank you. That's a great question. I didn't answer that, but I will show you how to size for different size garments. So I did mention I was going to have different size garments, and we could I could show you how to size for that. Okay, so I'm dropping this down, hitting my timer, firm pressure. So I'm just putting my hand on it to give it firm pressure. I am not moving it around. I'm working it in section by section. The reason I don't move it around is as your vinyl heats up, if I were to move my easy press and work it like I would a normal iron, I could, number one, move my vinyl on my garment, which I don't want to do. Number two, I could leave like a shadowing effect because it moved. So it might move and then leave some adhesive outside of where it moved to. So you just give it a good firm hold, do the 30 seconds, pick it up and move it. That's the best way to do it. And even if you're using a home iron, again, you'll have it on that highest setting, like the wool setting, with no heat. Like if you're doing it with your home iron, I suggest dumping out all the water so you make sure you don't get any moisture in your garment. Okay, so I can just slide this down now very carefully. I can just slide this down. We're going to let it cool at the top there, and then we're just going to press down here. And I think I'm going to have to press this in 2 sections as well. Let's see. Yeah, 2 sections. So I just put it back on, and I keep the press on there, firm pressure. So if you're doing a toddler size shirt, you're going to definitely do obviously a smaller size skeleton. There are leg bones to go with this design. So you could take a pair of black sweatpants and do legs, and even think about taking a mask, like one, if you have leftover black masks, you can do a jawline on the mask. I was hoping I'd have time to do that, but I didn't. I ran out of time. I thought that was really cute. Plus, or you can even do like a neck gaiter if you're in a, for my Pennsylvania friends, if it's chilly on Halloween night, I always tried to look for ways I could add layers to my kids' costumes so that as the night got colder, they would have some extra layers. So like a skeleton neck gaiter that the kids can pull up would be super cute. Or you could do on your top of your hoodie, do some skeleton eyes, or even do, now this one I'm gonna have to do two on this one here. You could do like a mohawk down the back of your hoodie if you wanted to. Really fun things you could do. And I love the vinyl. You'll be so impressed. I don't know if I'll be able to show it in here, how when it gets dark at night, how glow in the dark it really is. It is very glow in the dark. So that's a fun thing. Okay, I'm just going to slide that over and do my last little bit here, 30 seconds. Now, sometimes, depending on the vinyl you're using, you'll turn your shirt over and do another press along the material. With this one, I don't have to do that. So I just am going to let it now cool. If you want to peel it when it's cool to the touch. So I'll fan it. If you're in a hurry, you can take a piece of marble, believe it or not, and run it over it. That helps to cool it. But it's very hot to the touch. So I don't want to touch the vinyl design right now. But I'm going to move my arms up, my arm bones up out of the way, and we'll start working on the shirt. Now, one thing to consider for the shirt, since these are the bones, you kind of want it to go on the inside sleeve of the shirt, which would tend to be like the seam goes from your armpit down to your wrist. So you don't want to put it on the seam of your shirt, like this seam right here. You don't want to put it there because then it would be hidden as your shirt's close to your body. So you want to put it on the front of the sleeve. So you just can press your sleeve out. And again, we're going to do two different sections so you can put those on there. So we're just going to do it right down the sleeve of your garment. Okay, I'm going to do that 5-second press. And that. And then we'll do 5-second press on here. And you can decide, the sleeve has, if you're doing a long sleeve, it has a little bit of a gusset to it. So you want to make sure that you have that flattened out, and you don't want to put your bones too close to the wrist. Otherwise, you'll get lots of wrinkles in there. So just keep that in mind. Just put that right there and let that wrinkle out. Okay. Now we have our bones. So I cut my bones out all together, and I can just use my scissors and cut through this material. The great thing about this design is if you forgot to mirror it, it's okay. Like you wouldn't have a trouble with realigning it. Now, what mirroring does in other things, especially if you put words on it, you absolutely want to remember to mirror your garment. So my bones will just follow in here like this, and I should have looked to see exactly how these went, but I'm going to go with, as long as I do it consistent on both sides, I'll be okay. And you don't want to put it too far up into the armpit so that it will get hidden. So we'll put our bones down this way. Let's bone this way. If anybody knows and wants to correct me on my placement, feel free. Okay, so I'm going to put it like that, right in the middle of the sleeve. And then again, we're just going to take our heat press and heat press it for 30 seconds with firm pressure. And that's because if you have a shorter shirt or like if you're doing a different size shirt, like a This is an adult medium, but if you were doing a child's small shirt, your breast piece may be, say, 5 inches across or 6 inches across. And if you didn't change the size of your, if you didn't change the size of your arm bones, your arm bones would just fall off the shirt. So make sure when you do that, you want to adjust the size of your arm bones prior. You can resize everything together. And if you need me to show you how to do that in Design Space, let me know. I'll be happy to do that towards the end of the projects we're working on. So we got 4 seconds left. This is always the fun part, you know, and then once you take it out and run it in the bathroom and see how it goes when you put it in dark. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I already had everything pre-cut for us, and it's weeded. So when you cut, let's talk a little bit about cutting out your garment, your designs. When you're cutting, you always want to, when you're using heat transfer vinyl, you put the shiny side down. And you can see that your heat transfer vinyl has material, the vinyl, and then it has a carrier sheet. And the carrier sheet is what holds all of your pieces together once you've weeded everything out. So you cut it and then you weed it, and the carrier sheet is what holds it together. But what you need to cut is actually the material. So this is the shiny side, and this is the dull side. And you put the shiny side on your cutting mat so that your machine can cut into the material. And then you do all of your weeding, and you can remove excess parts that you don't want. And then it's all kept together. If this had a lot of different parts, it would be all kept together on the carrier sheet. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to put my other bones on, and I'm going to refer back to how I did my first bones. So I get it, I do it right. So I did this part at the top, like that. And then I have this part down here, kind of like that. And the great thing is you don't really have to be, like for this is a good beginner project if you're just getting started with iron-on material, because it's very forgiving. Okay, so firm pressure for 5 seconds. All right. If you wanted to, another thing I was thinking, if you wanted to give it a little extra glow, you could use the fabric dimensional paint and paint around the outline the bones. You don't have to, like I don't think I would with this, but if you wanted to do something in like along the collar, add a collarbone or something in an unusual place, you could just add this dimensional paint on it. You can also use, for something like this, excuse me, you could also use regular vinyl and put it on the garment, and then you can always take it off. So it's not a permanent attachment to a shirt. So you could do something like that temporarily. You could also cut out stencils of bones, and then you might want to use the fabric paint to stencil the bones in. But honestly, like this vinyl is so quick and the designs come out so nicely. I don't think I would use the dimensional paint, but I thought it would be fun to share. Okay, so I just start at the corner and I begin to peel it off. It's cool. It's cool to the touch. So I just begin to peel it off. And look at how nicely that comes off following those guidelines. That is to die for. If it didn't come off as smoothly as it is right now, so let's say I was working on a section and it didn't come off as smoothly as I had anticipated, what I would do is I would just put the plastic back down, the carrier sheet. I would, like if I peeled it off and it tucked up here, I would put that down and I would heat it back up again a second time. If you let it cool, it really does come off this easily. Let's see, that one didn't come off this easily. There we go. And if you peel it off and you notice after you've removed it that you have a little piece that maybe didn't stick down, just put your plastic back on it and you can reheat that part of the garment. I do recommend, if you have to do something like that, to use a pressing cloth and cover up this part of the, the parts of the garment that you don't have a carrier sheet on anymore, because you don't want to have that vinyl melt onto your iron. So if you have to do that, just use a really thin cloth or something to cover up what you've already removed the carrier sheet from. But there is our, there it is. Let's go. I'm going to switch back to the main one and we can see it. I should get my husband to come down and model this for me. But isn't that cute? How easy is that? And you could do this for the whole family and everyone, the dog, you could do it on like a little dog jacket or something like that. We've got that one. You're all set to go. Okay, so that's the first one I used Caesar glow in the dark, and I used my 12-inch by 24-inch mat so that I could just cut it all in one piece. But don't forget, you can cut it in two pieces. Okay, so let's talk about those bears that inspired my next collection of shirts. So this is a good group project. The dancing skeletons is a good group project. If you need like a classroom project, that's a fun one. You can also do like different colored shirts with a big M on them for the M&Ms, or the Crayola shirts are always fun. But this one I used the bears as my inspiration, and I have a couple different size shirts to work with. I just have to decide which one to show you first. I guess let's do this one first. So this bear, this is the Funshine Bear, or Sunshine Bear inspired, and it will have, the orange will be the background with the face, and then I've got this to go on the top of it. I can line it up right, like this, and the sunshine rays will come through this. So I'm going to show you how to layer your iron-on material. But first we need to do some weeding. So in here I have these little rays of sunshine, and I'm going to use the white on top. It's a little bit tricky to see this in this light. I'm going to use the white on top to have the orange show through. And you guys probably, do you want to go back to the overhead so you can see this? I don't know if you'll be able to see the little cut lines in here, but there are cut lines. So when you're reading out, you'll notice within the color cut lines. It's sometimes hard to see. Like I'm having a little bit of hard time seeing it because of my lighting in this room, but I kind of know about where the lines are going to be or should be. So it's a little bit easier to pull them out for me. If you are weeding, this is called weeding. So you just take your weeding tool and you find the shape that you need to remove. I'm just going to keep working on this way. So you find the shape you need to remove, and you take the tip of your weeding tool and you poke it into the shape. So I kind of always poke it away from me, and then you can peel off the shape that you are removing. So I'm just poking it in and peeling off, and I'll work my way around this garment. Now this is just the Make Market white heat transfer vinyl, and I cut it with Everyday on my Cricut. I cut it with the Everyday iron-on settings, was the setting I used to cut it. So there's no, it's not a glitter or anything like that. It's just an everyday iron-on material. And I'll use the same settings when I heat it as I would using the Cricut heat guide as that material. Now, each of the different companies that makes iron-on material will offer their heat settings on their website. So if you're using Caesar, you can go to the Caesar website and get those heat settings. Now, my face on my sunshine will be the yellow shirt popping through. So what I need to do is find those little shapes here and weed those out. So I have my smile, And then I have some eyes. So this is going on an adult medium shirt. And I did the overall design, I think I did like 8.5 inches. So let's see. Okay, so there's my little sunshine face peeking through, and it will have the yellow of the shirt coming through the sunshine. Now I'm using 2 of the same iron-on materials, so my heat settings will be the same. If I were using, say, a glitter as my orange layer, I would want to have that as my base layer, and I would heat that first. Glitter iron-on tends to use a higher heat setting than everyday iron-on. So you want to put the one that has the highest setting on first. I'm going to share my screen again here. Let's see. Oops. Okay, let's share my screen. And we'll go back to our heat settings. And we'll pull up the heat settings if we're using everyday iron-on material. Everyday iron-on. And I've got my base material is 100% cotton shirt. And I'm using my pressing mat, so it'll be 315 degrees for 30 seconds. So again, we just need to heat up our heat press to 315 degrees instead of 305 degrees. So I'll just heat that up. And while that's heating up, we'll get our t-shirt set up for this to go on. Now, you can do this with any type of t-shirt, with any type of vinyl, do the double layers. What I like to do, okay, so this is a medium, and my design, let's see, I've got to find my measurement. My design was, so about 8 inches, 8.5 inches on this design from that point to that point. It's about 8.5. If I'm doing a medium, and if it's a woman's medium, I definitely don't go over 9 inches because I just don't want it to get stuck on the side of the shirt. But that is totally up to you, what you like to do. That is my general rule of thumb. I don't say I always stick to it, but that's my general rule of thumb to do that. So I just do, so this is a medium shirt. This could be for a man or a woman. And it's 8.5 inches wide. I'm going to find the center of my shirt here, matching up my armpits, matching up my shoulders and my collar. So we're just going to give it a nice little press. Now, again, think about this one is where you're going to place it. Because it's supposed to be the belly badge, I'm going to place it a little bit lower than I would place, say, if I were doing an M&M Halloween costume, I would place that M up higher on my shirt. But since this is a belly badge, it's going to go lower. So it'll go lower on my stomach. And if you were to measure down to where it would go, maybe you go down about 9 inches down, would be right on your belly. So general rule of thumb is 2 fingers from the neckline. That's usually 2 to 3 fingers from the neckline would be the top of my design. But since I'm putting this on as a belly badge, I want to go down a little bit lower. So if I take my ruler and I go down, I want it to, let's see, this is 6 inches. So if I put the top of it at the 6-inch mark, that will be about on my belly. So let me just measure about 6 inches. Yeah, that will be, oh, that's 8 inches down. So yeah, let's go down to 8 inches. Let's go down a little bit lower. So it goes a little bit lower. So this one's going to go down to 8 inches so that it fits on my belly, if you will. It'll go right on your belly, and you can put like Fun Bear on the top or whatever you want to, maybe on the back. But it's just really, you're using this design as your inspiration. Okay, and then to get my middle, I'll just fold it right in half. Now I keep the white layer together with the orange layer for right now because I want to get my half marks the same on both pieces. So I'll remove that white piece and we're going to set that aside. And I'll put my yellow piece, my orange piece on my garment. So again, I'll just push it up to the top, measure down from the collar, and that's about 8 inches down. That's my 8-inch mark, so I could go up just a hair more. And I'll use that fold line to get my image centered on the shirt. If you wanted to, if you weren't sure if it was centered, you could always measure if it's a symmetrical design from side to side and make sure that it's in the center. This one's not quite symmetrical because of the little shapes on it. So this one measures right at 6 inches. And this one measures a little bit to the left, a little bit shy of 6 inches. So if I wanted to, I could just boop it over just a hair and make sure that it's, oops, how did that get less? Oh, I know. So I wanted it to come that way, just a hair. So we're just a hair shy of 6 inches and a hair shy of 6 inches. So that's how another way you can measure it out. I do like to use the middle part because it's just easier, and then that just irons out as you go. Okay, now because I'm doing 2 layers of vinyl, I'll do my first layer with less heat because I'm going to be adding more heat to it. So by less heat, I mean less time. So I'll put my easy press on, and it covers up the whole design, and we'll start it. And I'm just going to watch this until it goes down to about 10 seconds left, and then I'll pull it up and we'll let it cool off before removing the piece. Okay, just so that you don't have to press it the whole way because you are going to be adding more heat to it. And then we're going to let that cool off. And while that's cooling off, I want to talk to you. I'm going to grab out I should have a Teflon sheet here. Yeah. So this is a little Teflon sheet. I mentioned using an light iron on it so that you didn't have your, so it didn't, what am I trying to say? So you didn't get your easy press right on the vinyl as it was. It covers it from your from getting on your easy press or your iron. So you can use just a light cloth will do it. Now I do normally really let this cool off. If you peel it too soon, you can get wrinkles on your vinyl. But I know we're working on time here. So I want to go ahead and peel that off. But normally you really want to let it cool off before removing it. Now I can take my my piece here, and I'm going to place it on to the design. And I just have to, for this one, I just have to eyeball it and make sure I have my right guides around it. So right distance on everything. And there's my centerpiece there. So again, I'll take my Teflon sheets, push that over there, take my easy press, and now this time I'll let it go for the 30 seconds with firm pressure. Does anybody have any questions about layering vinyl? We're going to do some more layering of vinyl too. I have another trick to show you in layering vinyl. So we're going to do that. But next, I'll have an infusible ink design. And the next design is lucky, for somebody who's lucky, because I use the 4-leaf clover. But did you know that with infusible ink or sublimation designs, you need to use a special shirt that is that normally is white or a gray color to place your design onto it. Now I'm just going to set this one aside so we can let it cool while I talk about our next design. I'm just going to set that one right there because I know we're getting short on time. So this is a children's shirt, and it is a small youth size shirt. Now so I did my design. It's a little bit smaller than, say, my adult size shirt, and I just used, okay, so I'm sorry, I jumped a little bit there. Let me go back and finish what I was saying about infusible ink or sublimation. So you need to use those types of materials on a shirt that is compatible with infusible ink or sublimation. So using it on a green shirt, you really can't use that infusible ink transfer sheet on a green shirt, and especially 100% cotton shirt. It just won't. The colors have to be a high polyester shirt for the chemical process to work. So the way an infusible ink works is it releases the color from the sheet, whether you print it on a sublimation printer or you print it, or you're using Cricut's infusible ink transfer sheet. You're basically going to be transferring through the chemical process of releasing the ink onto the shirt. And what that does is the shirt fibers just absorbs that dye, and it becomes part of your shirt. So it's like where vinyl, it kind of sits on top of a shirt. When you use infusible ink, it goes into the fibers and becomes part of your shirt. So I'm going to heat this up for 5 seconds, and I've got the Make Market glitter, white glitter. So we're going to use the white glitter as the base of our shirt. Now, again, this is a youth shirt. So where my adult shirt was 8.5 inches in the circle, my youth shirt is much smaller. So I have to make my design smaller. So this is 6.5 inches versus the 8.5 inches for the adult size. So just keep that in mind as you move through. And again, we're going to put this on the belly of the shirt. So definitely below the armpit line on the belly of the shirt. So this is just glitter. Let's see that going. This is the glitter iron-on, and I'm just going to find the middle of that, and we'll put this on to the shirt first. Now, the way that this material is made, the glitter, it is like a polyester. It works like a polyester shirt. So we're going to be able to do infusible ink on the shirt with the white glitter as the base. So again, I'm going to come back in and I'll change my material. So I'm using glitter iron-on, and it is the Make Market glitter iron-on. So I'm going to use the same settings, 330 degrees for 30 seconds. So I'll put that on 330 degrees for 30 seconds. So let me get this heated up a little bit more. Now, the thing with infusible ink transfer sheets, when you weed them, you don't weed them like we weed vinyl. It weeds like it's like paper, so it kind of crackles off. And you'll notice it's a dull green color. But when you heat it, the color will change. So we're just going to remove this this paper backing right off of here. Now it does have work the same way. It has the carrier sheet, and you can see where it tears, where that white is. You don't have to worry about removing that white, but you do want to make sure that you get all of the color off. So I can leave that little bit of white there without worrying about it transferring to the glitter. Okay, so now that I've got that weeded, we're going to put the glitter on first, 330 degrees, 30 seconds, firm pressure. It's coming along, right? And then what's really cool, so the infusible ink, it has the carrier sheet. You put the shiny side down, which is the carrier sheet actually with the infusible ink. You still want to mirror your garment, and you're going to cut out of the transfer sheet. So we're just going to cut right out of that transfer sheet, and we'll put it down onto the garment in reverse. Okay, and we're going to want to let this cool off. So while this one's cooling, since we're talking about different sizes, I have a toddler shirt. So cute. And this one is going to be multiple layers of vinyl. So I really want to make sure that I get this one started so we can finish all the different layers and have time for it to cool off. So with this one, again, I'm just going to find that center of your garment. The centering is so easy. So you just find this, match up your sleeves, match up your collar, find the center, and then give that a nice little press. 5-second press here. This will start off with a with actually a color base instead of a glitter base, but we're going to do glitter on top of that. Now, what I try and avoid is putting too many layers onto one garment, because it can heating up too many layers, because you don't want to heat up your vinyl too many times. So I've got these little rainbows. The pink is going to be my background, and then I'm going to put my glitter vinyl on top of that. Gotta figure out my lining. Uh-oh. Did I not mirror this one? I may not have mirrored this. Oh no. I forgot to mirror my color. So you know what? That's okay. I'm not going to put my pink on. What I would do then is go back and cut my pink out a second time and layer that over the glitter. But so for this one, I'm just going to put my little glitter on it on this one. So all right, so I'm going to do it here, and again I'm going to do multiple layers on it, so I'm only going to do this for about 20 seconds, and we're going to let it sit. Okay, prepping for our infusible ink on the green shirt. Infusible ink transfer sheets use a higher temperature, and so you can't use sublimation and infusible ink on with a home iron. You need to use an iron that will get hot enough to transfer that color. So I'm going to take, we're going to remove our carrier sheet here on the glitter. We want to, now I know that that is fresh and clean, but I'm going to take my lint roller, and I'm going to roll my lint roller just in case there's any lint that got in between in that quick hot minute of transferring. You want to do the lint roller. You also want to put a piece of cardstock in the middle of the garment, usually, because you don't want the color to seep through. But since we're doing it on vinyl on green, I'm not worried about the color seeping through. So I'll put my design down on my garment, and I'm eyeballing the center part here where it's going to go. Now, one thing with your infusible ink, it does have that adhesive back, so it will stick, but because you have to heat it for a little bit longer, and you really don't want your sheet to move on you, because if it moves, you'll definitely get some ghosting. I like to tape my garment down like that. So I tape my design down onto my garment so it's not going to move on me. And then in your transfer sheet box, this is how it comes. It comes in a black sleeve, and we're going to take out the butcher paper. With each box, you get butcher paper, and you want to use the butcher paper to absorb any of the chemicals in the transfer. So we just put that down over the design. Sorry, I'm making so much noise down there. We're just going to put that down over the design. And you can use, this is special heat transfer tape. Be generous with it, because you really don't want your design to wiggle on you. So machine wash the clothing with heat transfer vinyl in warm water. Yes, it is recommended. Any shirts that you design with heat transfer vinyl, you do want to turn it inside out when you wash it. So, I'll be honest with you, that does not happen in my house, because I just don't have time with my family to get them in the zone of doing that. So I don't turn my shirts inside out, but it is recommended that you do that. Okay, so see here, I've shared this 385 degrees for 40 seconds. I've already basically done the preheat, so I don't need to do that, but I do need to get my easy press set up to 385 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And part of the reason we're going to need to let this cool down before we do the reveal, and you're going to love it. So we're just going to put that onto here like that, and I'll come back to that one. Now, one thing I wanted to show you with my little, this little cheer bear, I did a rainbow. My pink material, I cut out like normal, used the normal everyday iron-on settings, and I did the weeding on that. Now I did it bigger so that I could take my extra rainbow pieces and layer those onto the transfer sheet. And that was because I didn't want to have to keep heating the garment up for each layer. So I actually cut out the entire rainbow level onto the garment, on each color. So now, having extra room on this pink sheet, I can take my rainbow layer. I don't have to do any weeding or anything like that, but I'll have to remove the carrier sheet when it's done. It may come up with the pink one. I'm not sure, but I put that down. This is the iron-on side, is the side that's up, and I'm going to put this down on this one as well. So I put that on the outside layer, and you can decide, which layer you want to layer it with. I did cut this with the chipboard setting, so it cut the whole piece out. Now when I do the iron on this piece on my pink shirt, you can't see it, it will go down as one piece. Do you have to do that? No, but I just didn't want to have to, put so many layers down and heat press it, because it can be a lot of heat. So at 40 seconds, firm pressure, and it's going to start doing the transferring. Now, we have just a little bit of time left together, maybe about 5 minutes, we'll get these 2 shirts done. So if anybody has any questions you want to ask before we end our workshop today, feel free to pop them into the Q&A. I've got my eye on it. Nazir asked, are you going to show heat transfer photo on shirt? What heat transfer paper would I use? So if you wanted to transfer a photo onto a t-shirt, you would need to use a sublimation process. So you would need to have a sublimation printer and print out your shirt using that, print out your picture using a sublimation process. Once you do that, then you could use you'd need to use a shirt that is approved for sublimation, so like a high polyester shirt and a hot iron that will transfer the sublimation. We do have a workshop coming up in November on using sublimation. Now, I get so excited. I have a hard time waiting for these to cool down, but I'm going to let this cool. And as you can see, like the tape easily comes off. And look at that. There's the little design. So this was the piece that I started with, the transfer sheet I started with. This was the color it started off as. And look at how nice and bright that color shows up on the glitter. So it transfers onto the white glitter, and I just used the Make Market glitter heat transfer vinyl, and then I used the Cricut infusible ink transfer sheet. Oh yeah, Shamika, that is a good, thank you. I don't know what I'm thinking. She says or sublimate on printable vinyl. And you know what, there's another product. I happen to have it right here that you can use. And you don't even have to print it onto sublimation. You can use the printable iron-on material, and there's a variety in the market. Some of it will let you print on dark materials and some for light materials. So you could actually run either of these through an inkjet printer and then transfer that onto your garment. Thank you, Shamika. You had me thinking outside the box. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, so there's that little guy. Now let me come back here. And while my iron is cooling off down to back a normal temperature, we can remove this carrier sheet. See how easy it is? Now I do like to put my hand on it and pull it off that way so that it just pulls off really nicely. Look how cute is that little bear there. So you've got like a mama shirt and a little boy shirt or a little girl shirt, the little lucky one. And then we're going to do the baby shirt. So here's our little baby girl. And I've got the glitter. I need to remove our glitter here, the carrier sheet on our glitter. And I would just pair this up with a pair of leggings or sweatpants or something. And then you could even make little bear ears to go with it or something like that if you wanted to. So we're going to put that little guy in the center. Now, because I have the glitter down, I'm going to use that sheet. And I can even trim this down a little bit so it's not on so big on the garment. I'll just trim that down like that. We'll put that right in the center. Should I got it in the center? Yep. Okay, we'll put that right in the center like that. I'll use the Teflon sheet here because I've got the glitter and that glitter is exposed and I don't want to get the glitter on my press. And I'm just going to go ahead and press this. We're so close. So I'm just going to go ahead and press this for that 30 seconds. But I just don't really love that infusible ink transfer paper. Like that is just so cool how it changes the design onto the garment. And using the glitter really does help you put it onto any size shirt. And when you feel it, all you feel is the glitter. You don't feel anything else. Now you could do that same technique with the rainbow design, any of the designs, you could use that same technique. But I thought it'd be fun to show you different ways to layer your iron-on material. Oh, I need to let that, I get impatient. All right, so why don't we let that cool off? And if there are, again, if you guys have any questions, I can answer those. Any last minute questions that you have about using different material, whether it's the Make Market, the Caesar, the Cricut material, anything like that, the different, using different heat elements like your home iron, I think we covered that. So there's like the little boy shirt, so cute, right on his tummy. Here could be a mommy or daddy shirt. And then the little baby shirt. Isn't that cute? I just love it. Now, as I remove this on the vinyl, if it didn't stay down, I could just come back, which it didn't stay down. So I'm just going to come back with my Teflon sheet here again, and I'm going to put my press back on it. Part of me thinks that's because I have more layers of the clear carrier sheet between the two. All right. I'm just curious if you guys don't mind putting in the Q&A, which cutter do you use? Do you use Silhouette, Cricut, the Caesar cutter? Which one are you using? And I'd love to know that if you don't mind sharing that information. We're just going to let that heat up for it and cool off so I can remove that off of there. All right. Well, so now I think that's everything. We've gotten all the questions answered, and I think we're good to go. I'll just peel this off once it cools off. Another 30 seconds or so, it'll peel right off, and I'll be good to go. Yep. I'm so impatient. Silhouette Portrait 3, but getting the Cameo 4. Oh, Shamika, that is exciting. You're going to love that one. All right, guys. Well, that is everything. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned some different techniques for making costumes and things like that. And check out my Cricut portfolio in the Cricut community, and you can see these projects in there if you want to replicate those. Everyone, have a great rest of your evening, and I hope this kicks off your creative week. Thanks, everyone.